गुड मर्निङ। आज नेपालमा कानुन दिवस। मेरो यो आजको यो माई टास्क टुडे, प्लिज लिसन, माई टास्क टुडे इज टु गो इन्टु ए टपिक्स पार्ट अफ everyone's life. It is called code of conduct or ethics, or the principles which require us to act in the righteous way, in the correct way, in the moral way, in terms of patient care here, because this is health or bioethics. Bioethics involves, or it also takes into account other professions, health assistants, nurses, CMEs, paramedical staff, radiologists, all type of specialists who are doctors. So this bioethics and medical ethics, let us try to give you a simple way how to try to remember it, or let us call it now our duty. Ethics is there, of course, our duty to provide a morally acceptable, morally correct way in dealing, in serving the sick and the needy. The principles what I have put here, I would say there are three sections. There are three parts. The first part is our task, our duty towards our patients. Part 1. Part 2, our task or our duty towards our profession. Whatever your profession is in this health related field. Part 3 relates to our duty to the community, to the society, to the state. Therefore, once upon a time, there was a specialty which was named forensic and state medicine. Now the name is forensic pathology or forensic medicine. So let's take the third one first. Third one, we are talking about dividing this concept of medical care in the right way, correct way, into three sections, so that we understand, we imbibe what is required, we digest what is required, and we are expected to act accordingly, which I will come later. This acting or our duty and acting. First we have to know how to act. Before you go to play a role in a theater, for example, you have to study what are the dialogues, where it came from, the background, the clothing, the style, the gestures, makeup, you do all that. Then you actually enter into the stage to act. Think for a moment, we are also actors in that way. Let us take the third one first. As I said, let us take the story of December 19, 2019. In Yuan, China, there was a market. A doctor detects some unusual type of disease. People die. The doctor is interested. He is concerned. His moral obligation requires him. He acted correctly, of course. He went to the authorities to explain to them, to convince them, to persuade them to use some rigorous measures to contain it. But I think, I have not seen, you have not seen, but what we read in the papers and other materials, slowly it came out. The authorities perhaps were reluctant at that time, and that could be one of the reasons for this disease to spread and become a pandemic. So therefore, this is very important that we act accordingly at the right time. Okay, now let's start again from the beginning of these three principles or three parts. The first part, our duty towards our patient. Here, the first of all is autonomy or the patient's independence. We cannot compromise a patient's independence or autonomy. The patient has to give consent, and a doctor has to ask for it. It is the doctor's duty to ask for consent, and it is the patient's choice to refuse if he likes. So how it is done? We'll come to that a bit later. Let's take another one. The principle of beneficence and non-maleficence. Always try to do good. Do not do harm. If you cannot do good, do not do anything. So this is also called non-maleficence or beneficence. Do not cause harm. And number 3 also is called justice. Now this justice is a huge term. It comes under several things. For example, question of moral thing, question of doing the thing in the right way, question of maybe there are several sections of it. So therefore, before you take the consent, you have to explain to the patient. We have to explain to the patient in their own language as far as possible. Suppose I am going to examine you, I'll touch you, I'll draw blood, I'll put something inside your body, I may use some thing to cut you. Depending upon the type of the care, depending upon the type of the patient or the disease, also depending upon the specialist. So after explaining thoroughly to the patient gives consent or does not give consent. If he gives consent, fine, you go ahead. Now let's debate something here further. If he does not give consent, what then? We cannot force. We can't force like in the olden times. So the patient has to be told there might be other forms of care available other than this allopathic system. He might be advised to try one of those. That is also our moral responsibility. Alright. So this consent taking requires you to explain everything to the patient. Also the outcome. Patient might ask, what is the outcome? What is the prognosis? So you should be well versed. You should have a fair idea. You should have fair knowledge of the present day things, present day facts, information, knowledge about this particular disease. And patient gives consent. Giving consent requires the patient to sign something. Alright. And this something is a piece of paper whereby we give all the details. For example, it could be like, if people have developed this much more, but the basic facts are, I understand, I am giving my consent, I fully understand what is going to happen to me, and there is always some witness. This is the fundamental principle, but this can be framed in several ways according to the specialty, according to the hospital, according to the administration. Alright. For example, a surgical procedure might write something more. Anesthesia might write something more. This is the ethics, this is the consent. And exercising the right kind of care is a big matter. What is called the essential care, using the essential care, exercising the essential care as best as possible according to the doctor's experience, according to the doctor's knowledge. This is called reasonable care and skill. This reasonable word is a technical word. The law will take into account this. If there is a misadventure, if there is damage to the patient, this is a word which is extremely useful. There could be litigations. So therefore people make a very elaborate type of consent. So part of this is first part. Now there is more to it. Because a large section of this moral duty, responsibility relates to patient care. That is our profession, that is our business, that gives us our livelihood naturally. Let's stop that for a moment. Let's go back to number 2. Duty towards our profession. Now duty towards our profession, paramount thing here is, if you have chosen a profession, you have been trained, you have taken degree, you have given examinations, but that is not enough. You got to be at par always towards your brethren, specialist, same specialist as you, at par with same specialist as you all over the world. all over the world, irrespective of caste, creed, nationality, society, or the country. So that is one duty. It is morally founded that if you are not able to exercise the proper care, what is the point of treating a patient? Duty towards our profession, people take it in a different way. So therefore, you have to be always update, further reading, further taking more training, advancing from what you started with. There are education, CME, continuing medical education is the name given to it. The medical education, not only education, it also involves maybe training, some procedure. It will have to continue so that you are responsible, you are morally doing your duty correctly as a professional. So that is most important part of this. Part number 2. Now part number 3, I already elaborated a little bit. Our duty to the state, to the society, to the community in general. Sometimes we may have to report something even if the state does not ask for it. Especially these type of things are your medical legal matters. A person comes, you are going to treat a person who apparently has got a bullet wound, who has apparently got a stab wound, or a person who apparently taken some drugs. So these type of things, these type of cases, we are bound to report to the state, to the police. Every healthcare facility usually has a medical legal section nowadays, and this medical legal section will look into it. And sometimes there are plenty of head injuries, road traffic accidents. So all accident, all poisoning, all unexplained, things like trauma require to be reported to the respective authority. So these 3 basic, let's repeat once again. Duty towards care of the patient, consent, exercising reasonable skill and care, do not harming the patient, rather not doing anything than harming the patient. Second is profession, morally responsible, being at par by doing all your CME and things like that. And the third one, our duty to the community, to the state in general, reporting suspicious or unexplained cases, and also a large section of what is called the medical legal problems or medical legal cases. Thank you very much. Let's stop here for today.